Hi again, and welcome to another edition of the Stronger Together podcast with ACSI. I'm Josh Warden. Well, we're continuing to share some stories from the ICEC, International Christian Educators Conference. Dr. Gavin Bretney, the ACSI Chief Strategy Officer, sat down with a few different educators to hear their stories, and today we're highlighting David Singh. David founded a school in India, Harbour International School, and he'll share just how he leads that school, not to mention how he lives out his Christian faith within the context of Indian culture. I think that'll be fascinating regardless of what part of the world you're tuning in from, and it'll be an encouragement to hear David Singh's story right here on the Stronger Together podcast.
David, can you share with us a little bit about why you decided to start a school and when?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was early or mid 2017. We were already part of a Christian international school in India, and it was a very clear direction from the Lord of doing something new in our lives. Now, we don't come from backgrounds of big risk takers or entrepreneurs or great leaders, so it was quite a crazy invitation to see transformation and lives being changed. And that was what we said yes to. One thing led to another. There was a vision of the 4 ships that God gave us, which really drove the name, a harbor, even though we're not close to the coastline or anything. But it really means that we're committed to that vision of seeing transformation in our city, but also the community that we serve.
And Dehradun, is it a town or a city? And could you tell us a little bit about the population and the people?
Yeah. Dehradun is roughly about 1.8 million people, and the region's growing. We've seen a huge influx of people from other cities, particularly because it's very close to the Himalayan mountains. And so it's a nice place to live. It is an educational hub. So every 500 meters, you'll probably find a school on the main streets of our city. And Dehradun is also home to like the forest research in India, the military academy. So it has some historic, heritage to it that we get to enjoy. And in the middle of that, we have our school that started in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic.
And you call yourselves Harbour International School.
Correct.
So what is your understanding of an international school? And presuming you have some expats to make it international, what are they doing in Dehradun?
Yeah. Well, in our context, there's a lot of international schools, and they call themselves international probably to communicate that they are a pretty high-quality facility providing institution. In our context, when we think of international, we're thinking about people from multiple cultures that can come together, bring the best of their worlds into a melting pot in a foreign land, but then to give locals and the expats in Dehradun an opportunity to engage in something that's very global. So our curriculum is international. We offer the American curriculum, and our student body is very diverse. It includes students from all over India, but also from other countries, a lot of mixed families. Our staff are from multiple different countries, and so that's what really makes us international. I would say the true cherry on the top is the culture of our school, which is international and unique, that wouldn't occur in a regular local environment. So therefore, we enjoy this interesting dynamic of very different people within one space in our campus.
What makes that work?
Well, we are committed to not just seeing transformation in students, but also in our community. And that is truly the essential focus of Harbour. When we work not only with just like students, but their parents and the community, and we're trying to engage them into meaningful relationships with each other, there's not just a belonging. I've heard people say this feels like family to me. I've heard some families say we're in Dehradun because of HIS, and if it hadn't been there, we wouldn't be here anymore. So there's not just quality education for their kids. There's not just good environment where they're safe and loved and cared for, but there's also the community connecting with each other and finding a sense of home, a sense of hope, and a sense of belonging with one another. It takes intentionality. It's not easy, I can say that, but we really believe in this global idea of multiple different passions, different skill sets, different qualities coming together and offering that to each other to really create this globally relevant community. And that's kind of what makes it unique and special.
And David, it's a Christian school.
Yes, it is.
So how does faith play into this community of this global community that's a family?
So we are explicitly Christian in how we communicate. We will start our events with prayer. We will talk about the work of the cross in our life and what God has done for us. And for us, the distinctive is not just to be able to preach what Jesus has done for us. The distinctive is to practice what he has invited us to. So instead of a preached message, we have a lived message for them. And that is expressed through care. That's expressed through radical humility. That's expressed through genuine forgiveness. That is expressed through a lot of these components that are missing outside of our culture. And they're countercultural in our context. When people experience the existence of all of these things in a place, it is a compelling narrative for them to themselves explore and ask the question, what's so different about this? And that's the thing. The love of Christ is so compelling. There's nobody who would experience that and not be drawn towards it. And that's how we choose to express it.
You say it's countercultural, but is some of this activity also illegal in India because there are anti-conversion laws?
Well, so we don't necessarily force anybody. Like the way we practice our faith is to be open about what we believe, but never to force people into it. That is an honor and the value we show them. That is something that we want them to know right from the start, that there is no agenda here in how we interact. What we offer them is love. What we offer them is the message that we believe is the truth. But beyond that, it is their journey to what would they do with it. So what would be illegal is if we actually, force people or we are manipulating people. But what people experience at our school is at face value. It's what we say we do, and we permit to offering that. And anytime people want to know more, we are happy to have discussions. But we have people of many faiths that are happy at our school, that will walk in there and also have the freedom to express their faith and talk about it. Sometimes it takes the courage to say, tell me about your faith and your beliefs, to help them feel welcome, that this is an exclusive place where we will brainwash you, but it is a place where we will show what has been done in our life through our actions, but also open that same reciprocation for them to bring and to be able to engage in.
Wonderful. Tell us a bit about the growth since you started to where you are today. That must take resources. It must take property, building, staffing. Those are all very challenging. Could you share a little bit about the journey you've been on since you began?
Absolutely, yeah. I use Harbor synonymously with the word miracles. For me, it has been very personal for me and my wife. When we left Delhi and we moved and said yes to the Lord and did this, we essentially had nothing with us. And I don't overstate that. We really did not have. In fact, I joke that I was still paying a car loan when I had moved, and there was no capital sitting in my bank. There was no organization, no groups, no businesses, no churches, or anyone backing us up. It was just a pure yes, and we moved there. And I was reflecting on what has truly postured us to experience this resourceful provision over the last 6 years. And I would have to say it's being on our knees and asking the Lord to provide. We have seen miraculous provisions overnight where we couldn't pay our staff and we needed funds terribly. And there was somebody who just stepped forward and said, hey, who didn't even know our context, to say, we want to come and we want to help the school to do things. We have seen time and again God do that. And the reason why we are so confident about that and we depend on that strategic plan of faith so much is because we've seen him do that. And we don't despise being in that place, to be honest. Not that it is great fun to be in a place of such dependency, but it is a place of privilege to enjoy our provider, take care of our resources. Now, a lot of this, and I tell this story very often, the first year when we had nothing with us, not even people, we said, where are we going to begin? We need teachers. And I would get on my knees and on my living room, pray, God, that I need people who are willing to, one, who love you and can bring that same value into our classrooms. Second, that they are passionate about education. The third, that they would be they would have some kind of a visa situation where we don't have to work through that. The fourth was I prayed that they would be OCIs, which is overseas citizens of India, and be married to an Indian. And the fifth one, because we had no resources, I prayed that they would be willing to work for the time being for us for no salary. And 70% of our staff in the first 2 years were all of those five things. And so we have seen God miraculously provide. And from there, we have learned that it takes partnership of faith and trust and strategic planning together to be faithful with what we have and to trust Him with what we don't. And we bring those two together, and we are faithful with whatever's in our hands. We started as 8 students in our first year because of COVID, and that was not the number we were expecting to start with. But now, currently, we are in our 6th academic year, and just over this summer, we went from 60 students to 100 students. So we have seen an incremental growth this year. We have also had to construct 5 classrooms, and we have had favor with our landlord, who has been willing to not only allow us to construct, but actually partner financially with us to construct for us. And all those things lead together with renting some other properties, our parking lot, and all these 3-4 properties of rented facilities come together through God's grace and His faithfulness to allow us what we're doing. And Harbor has basically seen that faithfulness. And over time, we have grown to see more staff. We've grown to see more financial sustainability. We have grown to see people's commitment and credibility pay off in that process.
What were the qualifications that you and your wife had that enables you to be leaders of an international school? What was your history and qualification?
Yeah, well, that is not something I can brag a lot about because this was initiated at a time and a space where I never desired to go into education. In fact, when I was in high school, I was very clear that I wanted to be a full-time musician, a jazz guitarist. And my wife was still figuring things out. She wanted to go into nursing and the medical industry. But somehow God turned our lives around to go into education, and we lived pretty parallel lives in New Delhi when we were there as students. And we, of course, my wife, she did her training in education and did her bachelor's in Delhi. She also did her bachelor's in language, which is what I did as well, not knowing that that would be the direction God would eventually use and utilize in our life. I also studied journalism, which sort of was connected, but also very different. And then took a turn towards education industry, which was through a family that were close friends of ours, who connected us to an international school in Delhi. And that's how we saw the redemptive work of an international Christian school. And then over time, we're convinced that this is truly incredible. And I believe that's where God began working in us. And while we were at our job, we got our teacher certification and licensing from overseas, and that sort of prepped us to go in that direction. Along the way, there were other certifications that we did that equipped us, or professional development that brought us to a place. But to be honest, doing it has been the greatest educator for us. And I don't think there's any qualification that would prepare us for what we've had to do the last 6 years. So that's kind of our history and background.
Tremendous. And you, as you said earlier, you were postured for position, for provision.
Yes.
This is a wonderful line. ICEC, ACSI, you were in the north of India. Now you are here in Penang, Malaysia. How did you hear about ACSI?
Yeah, my story with ACSI goes back to my former workplace in Delhi, where our school was going through an accreditation process, and I was part of the team and played some roles in that. And that gave me a real good insight into the robustness and the rigorous process of accreditation. In our Indian context, accreditation is not quite a concept because they follow more of an affiliation sort of model, which means that you can be affiliated and work towards certain, expectations that they would have. But the accreditation model is so different because it really brings you at a certain standard and a level of quality, of rigorosity and reflection that was just tremendous experience for me on the other side when I was at my former school. Having gone through that and then starting our school right from day one, both me and Donna knew that's what we want for our school. We want the quality, the excellence, the biblical values. We want this community of people that believe in the future and impact of education globally to be part of our story. And so we were very clear about being accredited with ACSI right from the start. The first 3 years were hard because we were still recovering from COVID. The numbers weren't going up. Financially was difficult. There was a lot of challenges and pushback that we experienced. But then after that, we were feeling a lot more equipped to apply for accreditation, which we are now a candidate for with ACSI and WASC. So, we're really excited to go through this process of maturity, but also hopeful about the accreditation we might receive.
And David, Harbor International School, are we going to continue to hear about it? Where is it going to be? Vision cast for us, 10 years time. What's going on?
Yeah, well, when we thought about Harbor, the vision didn't originate from school. It originated from the two words of changed lives and transformation. And we believe that educational space is where we want to practice that and where we want to bring that transformation. K-12 is our first playfield where we have begun our work, and we believe in 2030 we'll have our first graduation. But also by that time, we are right now working on a project to take the educational impact, not only in our city or just for the students of our school, but to take it to higher education, where we can impact and give opportunities for locals to access quality training for teachers that can then not only be feeding into our school and hopefully multiple schools as we continue to branch out and launch more harbors in different cities across our country, but also to think about higher ed that will start to stream and trickle quality educators, not just in Harbor, but everywhere in India. And that really is our goal, is that we want our reach to be not just to students and their parents and community, but also educators who can then take that with them wherever they're at.
Keep in mind that ACSI has credentialing, global core standards for teacher credentialing and higher education approval programs that approves university graduates to also have the ACSI credential, which is a global credential as well. So maybe more down the road.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's really a national vision.
It is a national
harbors.
vision. Yes, it
Very
is.
exciting.
Yeah.
Well, David Singh from Harbor International School. We look forward to more harbors.
Yeah.
And I think we need more David Singhs in India, don't we?
Thank you. Yes, we do.
Thank you.
Yeah, pleasure. Yeah.
Well, thanks again to David Singh for joining us on the podcast. Really enjoyed hearing his story, and more testimonials we'll share going forward right here on the Stronger Together podcast. For everyone at ACSI, I'm Josh Warden. Thanks so much for tuning in.